Okay, we are back on SportsLine talking football tonight, the NFL and college football, whatever you would like. Also, in the first segment, talked a lot about the Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson situations. Different situations, but unfortunately both very ugly black marks on the NFL at this point. Mike is on the phone. Mike's waited very patiently. Mike, I appreciate that. You are now up on SportsLine.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm a UT fan, and you know, of course I wanted UT to win, but I thought what was going to happen would happen. I mean, I was actually, honestly, to tell you the truth, I thought if we came out of there 7 or 10 points down, I was going to count it as a win, to tell you the truth. I thought that would have been a win to me in a ways, but I wanted to see exactly what kind of a team that we were going to have in our first major test here. Was we were going to have a team that was just going along with the system like we had last year, which I think those guys were just trying to stay healthy to the combine. I think they totally gave up, seniors, the offensive line, and a team that was buying into Butch Jones, and that's what I saw Saturday night. I saw a team that was buying in, that was going with it, was listening to the coaches. I saw a lot of fight in them. I didn't see any give up. I saw some points of confusion at times, but that's going to happen when you have a young team. And we're just at a point right now, we just don't have no depth. And we cannot, I mean, we lose a player, any player, it's going to hurt. I mean, and that's just not going to happen in football. Next year, when we get some more players in there, another class in there, we'll be a little bit deeper. Things we'll be able to work some more different plays. But I was really impressed with them. I thought that they really fought the whole time. I didn't see any give up in them at all. On Vanderbilt, I watched the UMass game, and something that I noticed that when they did a couple of the sideline shots that struck me kind of funny, and I don't know Coach Mason that well, and I know there's a difference between him and I can't think of his
Coach
name.
Franklin,
Coach last year.
James Franklin.
But, you know, he just seems stoic on the sideline. Somebody brought it up at work today, and I thought the same thing. And I don't know if it's because he's been up in the box so many years and being down on the field, but he just seemed kind of, he seems real stiff, real stoic, like he's confused maybe. I don't know. He's not as animated.
Yeah, Mike, I think that's a good point. A lot of people have wondered that about Derek Mason. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's not confused, but I do think it's an interesting dynamic in that he's kind of a smiley, emotional guy. Maybe not as much as James Franklin was, at least on the sideline, but he's a guy that can be rah-rah with his players at times, and I think he's struggling to find that balance of being the rah-rah emotional guy that perhaps he's been in the past to thinking about everything you have to do as the head coach and reflecting and being calm and cool under any situation. You fumble the ball at your own 2-yard line, head coach needs to be calm and cool and make the next decision. You can't be a fly off the wall type of guy. I think he's struggling a little bit with that dynamic right now and finding exactly who he is. He even admitted that as much after the Temple game, that when he went back and looked at the film, he didn't necessarily think he was himself coaching that first game, and he had to do a better job of that. So I imagine he's still finding out that process, especially as this team is figuring out themselves. And I think very good points about Tennessee. They did not back down. They were outmanned at some spots, especially just when you talk experience. Guys who've grown up and been a part of the Oklahoma system for 3 or 4 years. Butch Jones doesn't have that luxury right now, and so at times you saw some guys that just got whipped by better players on the other side. But there's a lot of talent there, and they are bought in. And so I think you feel that a team that had 2/3 of their guys making their first travel trip, the first travel roster experience, 1/3 of the roster going on their first flight, those guys showed up, and they didn't back down, and that's a good sign for the future. Let's go to Tiffany. Tiffany, good evening.
Hey, Steve. I just want to say I'm glad to see Vanderbilt getting a win. That's good. I just think to get this quarterback thing down. And I think the Titans is going to, be all right. They're going to smooth out. I think they're going to be all right. And I heard that little crack Phillip made about my 49ers. He made it back about my 49ers. But about this Ray Rice thing, look, I feel like I need to be the voice for the team that's going through this, because I am a I called the police on him because I was afraid of what my daddy would do. I didn't want my daddy to end up in the penitentiary. So what happened was I just had an Ike and Tina Turner moment. The last time people told me I just took all that race and I beat the snot business out of him. And then he left me alone. So, I never did anything to provoke him. I was afraid of him. This stuff out there. So, sometimes domestic abuse happens even when it's not provoked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, Tiffany, and we appreciate the call as always, and good points there, and certainly we're happy that you made it out of that situation and you freed yourself from it, but absolutely, domestic violence doesn't need to be provoked. It just happens sometimes, and we're going to talk more about that with Cocker coming up in just a few minutes here. Look, it's a terrible, terrible thing, and, if you want to extend it out to Adrian Peterson, certainly that's not provoked. That's just going too far. Whatever you think about punishment and corporal punishment and some of those sort of things, he clearly crossed the line in what he did there. And there's no excuse. There's absolutely nothing you can say that backs up what Adrian Peterson did to the extent he did it, or backs up or makes an excuse for what Ray Rice did. Just inexplicable. You cannot do that. And now the NFL is trying to figure out where those guys fit and what they try to do as a business and as a league. Let's go to Teresa. Teresa, thanks for the call tonight.
My opinion with both of the cases, first of all, I think the NBA need to back up out of that because that's personal. That's their business. That's not the NBA business. That's like any other job that you would have. Okay, you taking their personal life and taking their career and using it and putting it on the line. I feel that that's wrong. They need to come up with some more rules, but not no rule like that. Second of all, with the little boy and his father whooping him, I got whoopings when I was a kid, and I'm a strong woman today. And if we had more of that today, society wouldn't be and kids wouldn't be the way they are. Just because that kid got a bruise on him doesn't make it abusive. It don't make that.
Hey, Teresa, let me stop you there real quick. When you got whoopings as a kid, did they ever go to the point where you had cuts and lacerations and were bleeding? And, I mean, in one case, and pardon me, folks, but in one case, it's part of the young boy's genitalia in there. I mean, did it ever get to that point? Because I think that, if you look at the pictures, that's where it crosses the line for a lot of people here.
No, I didn't have that. I might have had whelps on me or whatever, but I'm a strong woman today. And when I say a strong woman today, I don't have a history of no kind of jail history, no kind of breaking, no kind of killing, and a working class woman and everything. It made me, and not just me, all four of my siblings, sisters and brothers. So don't tell me what's wrong with the society today is putting a slap on the wrist to these kids, and then that's why law have to pick up loans down the road and chastise them. So I don't agree to just because that child might have a little bumpy scratch. I think people is taking it all out of context. And the NBA shouldn't have anything to do with that situation because that's their personal life. Same way go with the elevator in the domestic violence. That's their business. I've been on the job, and what I did in my home has nothing to do with my job if I didn't take it to my job.
Yep, Teresa, we appreciate the call there. I think the issue here is the NFL has put themselves in a place where they rule on these things, that they go out and they kind of act as another branch of law enforcement. And this is going to be hard to believe, but Roger Goodell would have taken much less heat in the last week or 10 days or whatever it is now. Would have taken much less heat if he came out in July and instead of suspending Ray Rice 2 games for being arrested on domestic assault charges. If Roger Goodell would have come out and said, I'm the commissioner of the National Football League, my job is to protect this game, create rules, regulations for the workplace and for the football field to make our game better. My job is not to get involved in legal matters, and therefore we let the court do its process. They've already ruled on this case, and therefore we view it as a case closed. He would have taken less heat for that than coming out and getting 2 games, because he would have, in essence, kind of washed his hands of it and made it the legal system's issue. By going in and offering a paltry punishment like 2 games, he opened himself up to all this criticism. And then when the video comes out, then there's outrage about it, and now you're trying to readjust your rules and readjust your punishments in there. That's a really slippery slope if you're the NFL. And ultimately, if for some reason it cost Roger Goodell his job, he has no one to blame but himself, because he, in 2007, put in this personal conduct policy where he alone acts like the judge and the jury. And he takes these cases on an individual basis, most of them up until now, and it's still not completely put into place for domestic violence cases, on an arbitrary basis. He looks at it, he takes all the facts, and he makes a decision. It has long been a slippery slope that people have criticized him for, and now ultimately it catches up with him here. And I think that's a real concern for the NFL moving forward. It is a topic that has certainly swept the nation. There are all sorts of opinions when you get to this. We need to take a break. We will come back, talk to Cocker, someone who knows all about this stuff, get her opinion on the NFL's handling in these situations and where you go from there. Also want to hear more from you as well. 737-7767 is the number. Stay with us. You're watching SportsLine.